Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community.
Welcome again to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk about a dynamic program that's coming to our community. And we have Bryan Wade, who's the founder, CEO of the Right Word Speakers Bureau, and Brandon Flood, Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus. And these two men have collaborated to do something great, along with another gentleman that they're going to introduce us to, talking about what is it? The STOP program.
Yes.
And this is a program to improve police and community relations, which we so sorely need today.
Yes.
So, Bryan, thank you for setting up this interview, and Brandon, so glad that you're here, man. So tell us, Bryan, all about the program.
Well, thank you again for having us. I appreciate it. Yes, the STOP was originally written, and it's only about a month and a half old. It was probably about maybe mid-April, early April.
Okay.
And it was self-published by Mr. Dwayne Bryan. I happened to meet him in Miami, Florida. Now, I'd have to say it's God ordained, so I don't want to come across too preachy, but I didn't know him from a can of paint.
Right.
And I had just, probably like a week or two before that, decided I wanted to do something back in my wheelhouse as far as, media, communications, because I hadn't really been working in my purpose, and that can be miserable sometimes when you're outside of your purpose. And so this was an opportunity to really get back into my purpose in terms of doing promotions and television and different things to that regard. And so I was in Miramar, Florida, and they had a community event. And the young lady, we were talking, said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I just created a speakers bureau." And she said, "Oh my goodness, you need to meet someone." Okay. And it was Dwayne Bryan. Now, it had been 30 seconds more, we would have missed each other.
Isn't that something?
We wouldn't have missed each other. So we started talking, and immediately there was this resonance, saying, yes, we need to really work with each other. So he told me about what he's doing. At that time, the book wasn't written.
Oh, okay.
And so he was giving me the concept, and I said, well, I think I could be of some help. And one thing led to another, and now the book is published, and there's also a study guide curriculum that goes with the book now. So that's how this has evolved and come about, and it's being well received.
Fantastic. I need to say also, by way of introduction to Bryan, if you have never watched Worlds Apart, are those still available like in YouTube or something
yes,
like that?
They're still. I have archived 120 programs. I produced over 600 half-hour programs, but I archived 120, and you can still see them on YouTube.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's called Worlds Apart. It was a fantastic intellectual, if you will, discourse of the African-American community. And no, you really brought us some great guests, and so, I'm glad that you're back in your wheelhouse, as you say. Now, I'm also glad to have Brandon on, Brandon Floyd, who is the, Flood. I said Floyd. You thought I said Floyd, didn't you? But anyhow, Brandon Floyd.
Don't get in the middle of a husband and wife right?
That's my signature. Anyhow, because we're always messing up names. But the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, tell us about the work you do.
Yeah, so I'm with the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus. I'm their executive director. I've been in that role for a little more than 3 years now. Our objective is simple. It's to promote, protect the interest of Pennsylvania's minority population. We are an arm of the General Assembly, so a lot of what we do is policy driven. So there's a lot of legislating that comes into play, but also a lot of advocacy, which kind of brought me and Bryan together.
I could imagine.
But I remember, Brandon, meeting you initially when you did something similar, like a town hall meeting, at the Hamilton Health Center.
Yes.
And you had the panel of several different police chiefs.
Yeah, that was our Know Your Rights symposium. We actually
I do remember
another
that,
one, not about community policing, actually 2 days ago in Philadelphia, but that had to do with the licensing agencies, state licensing agencies in Pennsylvania. So anyone with convicted of any criminal histories, what their rights are in terms of applying for certain licenses and certifications in Pennsylvania.
All right, great.
Fantastic, good stuff. So this program, the STOP program, Improving Police and Community Relations, is getting some real good footing from what I understand, Bryan. Tell us about that.
It is. I was just in Lancaster, Pennsylvania about an hour ago, and I met with the Lancaster County Chiefs of Police, and they were very impressed, although I had sent the information through the district attorney's office, District Attorney Stedman, and he was impressed, so he had me come down and give an overview to him, and then from that, they invited me to meet with the Lancaster County Chiefs of Police. I've already met with the Dauphin County Chiefs of Police, so it's really like a concentric expanding of meeting various bureaus throughout central Pennsylvania, although this initiative serves as the ground zero, the state of Pennsylvania, which is going to be a broader nationwide initiative. But it's been well received. Just a little caveat, I spoke with the President Chief of Police for Lancaster County, and he saw the video, and now he's already using that in terms of their own police officer training, in terms of traffic stops, because it's really a dual responsibility on both sides, you know, in terms of how to engage law enforcement and vice versa. And that's really was the impetus for this book. Mr. Bryant's stop, although the book overall is an amalgam of his experiences from childhood up until the traffic stop last year in the state of Indiana. So I can give you more information about it if you want. Tell you more? Or?
Yeah, tell us more.
Okay, so as a result, last year he was driving on his way to Battle Creek, Michigan. He's a motivational speaker for over 20 years, primarily working with youth, but he deals with corporations and different group entities. And so he was, I guess his foot was a little lead happy or whatever it was, and he was doing like 20 miles over the speed limit, and he got pulled over in a traffic stop in Indiana. And the dialogue between himself and the law enforcement officer was very respectful, both sides. So I guess the law enforcement officer early on picked up that this gentleman's not out to harm me or anything like that. Mr. Bryant was very respectful, you know, was not antagonistic. And from that, the dialogue was almost kind of spiritual to some extent, that they both connected really very well. And a few minutes into the dialogue, he was looking at a $500 ticket and going into jail, or going to jail. And ultimately, the law enforcement officer discerned that, you know what, this man is really about trying to do things to help people. And he tore up the ticket. I said, maybe I should put my Dwayne Bryan mask on and go right around. No, I'm not doing that. But so from that, he went to Battle Creek and addressed the student population there. And then from that, they had filmed it, put it on his website, and the thing just went ballistic, went viral. And then from that, Indiana State Police got a lot of good public relations, you know, as a result of that. So they recreated that stop, literally. And it was a 14-minute video that you can see online, 14-minute video, and that's receiving a lot of attention now. And today was like the proof in the pudding. Lancaster said, or chief of police for that one municipality said, when I saw the video, now I'm using it as a training tool for my police officers. So it's really picking up well. Mr. Bryant will be speaking, was just, I guess, signed to be the opening speaker for Steve Harvey in his boys camp down in Texas. So he's gaining a lot of attention from this. And I'm just happy that we met. And I told him, I said, well, I think I know Central Pennsylvania reasonably well. I think I could be of some help. And it's taken off. It really has. So I appreciate you providing me this forum to be able to talk about that.
Well, I'd like to tell you that I initially saw Dwayne Bryan on the YouTube.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Back when we were doing the police training. And some of the information I put up, about 10 things you need to know about stop, that was from him. And it wasn't well received, but it was from him.
Okay, great.
And so when I saw that you had put this and had met him actually, and was really promoting and going out in the communities with this curriculum, I thought this is truly timely. And so necessary. So I really appreciate what you're doing with that. Now, tell me now, you said someone bought the book. Didn't you say somebody just bought the book? I thought I heard you say when we first started.
Not yet. Although people have been buying the book. And what I'm doing here in Central Pennsylvania with law enforcement is looking to go out and meet with philanthropists, banks, whatever, to get them to underwrite this for law enforcement at no cost. So the first 50 sets for all the municipalities, like for instance, Dauphin County, Chief Umberger has brought on, and several of the chiefs of police, Chief Carter, Chief Martin from, you know, various municipalities, they like the materials. So what I figured, you know, a lot of times police bureaus are struggling to find funding. I'm going out raising the money so they can at least get the first 50 sets, encouraging them to partner with schools, churches, and that's already taken place. Chief Carter has consented to work with the Nativity School, so I'm putting that in place even in advance of the statewide broadcast that's going to take place on May the 12th.
That's fantastic.
So along with that, you have the curriculum.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And with the curriculum, that this allows you to have the sessions, I guess, with the
law enforcement, churches, schools, right?
But you know, and there's so much going on, and I want to bring Brandon back in here because not just nationwide, but let's just talk about the state of Pennsylvania. There's a lot of concern about police community relations, especially when it comes down to communities of color, and the fact that so many police officers seem not to ever get prosecuted or anything when there's a bad stop, when there's one of these explosions that take place, And Pat mentioned, and she said it very quickly, she said, but when she showed this, which we did to the local area of police officers doing training at Washington University, and it was from Brother, Dwayne Bryan, And it was just talking about the 10 things you should do when stop. I mean, some of the police, not all, some of the police had a really tough time with this. They thought this was, you know, and they said because it made it seem like we should fear them. And so they were really upset about that. Brandon, what are you hearing when you talk with the legislatures from around the state?
Well, you know, like you said, that the list of 10 certainly is subjective, and certain agencies and individual officers, certainly some folks are more take more umbrage than others. But the one thing that we all can agree on is certainly, you know, the one thing, like I said, we're an arm of the General Assembly. We are working on advancing body-worn camera legislation. That's something that we're doing very deliberatively, not rushing to get it out. We're getting all the stakeholders together. So the one misconception is that law enforcement is anti-body cameras, which I would say 99% of them are in favor of it. So it's a matter of how to pay for it. Storage, retention, redaction, all of those issues are more of what's preventing us from moving forward. But by and large, certainly, you know, the one thing, and you mentioned, Pat, at our last event, you know, the goal and what we impress upon those that are being stopped or, you know, or have any interaction with law enforcement is that there is legal recourse after the fact. So you mentioned some law enforcement had some issue with those numbers, the 10. You had some civilians that also had some issues too, because it was almost as if they were to, you know, capitulating and, you know, and they wanted to invoke their rights immediately. You know, we kind of, you know, encouraged them to do that on the back end. The other piece that's important with this book and that's important with the subject of improving community and police relations is even the recruitment piece. You know, nationally, minorities are underrepresented in the law enforcement field. So certainly, when you improve those relations, you know, that makes for a much more amicable traffic stop. But it also makes our youth, those graduating from high school, college, or coming from the military, more inclined to pursue careers in law enforcement. So that's a big piece for us too.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Interested.
I would say Pat showed this because we looked at it, we like it, and we would endorse this. We think this is a great piece. And as you said, on both sides, there was people like, you know, because folks, they just get stuck in their stuff is what I will say, rather than, but if done correctly. And I had a friend of mine say, you know, I've been stopped a couple times driving between here and Pittsburgh. He said, and I've never had a bad experience because I think it's the way I present myself.
Exactly.
You know, he said, and the way the officer kind of, you know, present himself. So, you know, it can work. But of course, there are those people who have that emotional response. And then next thing you know, it flames out. Now, I'm not trying to blame victims or anything like that. I think the brothers just jumped to trying to say, you know, we all have responsibility here. And if done correctly, we can do some things. So from your point, Bryan, law enforcement's excited about this?
Yes, you know, because I think having worked as a community policing coordinator in law enforcement, I think something like this can be useful, and it's not reactive, it's proactive, you know, and it's about, again, and what I'm doing deliberately is trying to create community cohesion, just not, oh, police are doing this, with it's a buy-in from both sides and all sides, and I think when you have that, I think you're probably going to be more successful from my perspective. So you might have a different one, but that's what I think. And I think it's worked well for me in terms of how do you mobilize, synergize communities around a particular issue. And this is not the be-all, end-all in terms of law enforcement issues or community issues, traffic stops, but it's the most volatile interaction between police and citizens when traffic stop happens. So how do we go about trying to, again, bring some salience or sanity to this issue, because it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
And I did a series of interviews, and I think most people's impressions about traffic stops isn't because of they've been stopped, but social media and what they see on television. And that's sort of, well, I asked them in some of the interviews, I said, well, had you ever personally been stopped in a traffic stop? And they said, no. I said, so what is your concern? Well, you see what they do on TV, the police and things in that regard. And again, as you said, Nate, it's, you know, there's culpability on both sides. One of the interviews, the person said, well, if you're riding dirty, then you might have a reason to be a little testy with law enforcement or something like that. But still, there's this responsibility for both sides to be respectful towards each other.
I just get so upset when an unarmed person, just because they're arguing with somebody, ends up getting shot. I'm thinking, I just don't get that. But I will say also, was it Sandra Bland? Is that
Yes, Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland. They just, you know, kind of showed another clip on that on another program I was watching, and they were saying how they had to fire that officer. They said he just did everything wrong. He just escalated, took everything personal. She was escalating, he was escalating, but he's a professional. He's a professional on the scene, and so there was a lot of, you know, so anyhow, this is good work, and I'm glad that guys have stepped into it.
Well, you know what I would like to see happen is, you know, through the YWC of Greater Harrisburg, there is a CJCR, Criminal Justice Community Relations, committee that's been working for about over 2 years now. And one of the things they've been working on is a brochure to really talk about this particular topic.
Ms. Arbor, correct?
Yeah, Amanda Arbor.
I'm doing my due diligence, believe me, Pat. You're right, exactly.
And what I'd like to see happen, I don't know if Amanda has invited you to come and present to that committee.
I've asked, and I'm hopeful that someday I'll get a chance.
that'll happen,
really
sure.
share and talk about your experience, how you met, Dwayne Bryan, and how we can further move this forth.
Yes.
In some way. So
because it's being received well.
Right.
She was open to it. The Boys and Girls Club. I was with
Yes,
Hollins.
right.
Yeah, Javon
Very
Hollins.
excited about this. So I'm getting around to all the people I know I need to talk to.
That's good.
You and your husband,
That's good. Right.
Mr. Flood. I didn't know him prior to maybe 6 or 7 months ago, but I wanted to personally thank him for his involvement, his collaboration with this, because it's been very important. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's been very important. Nate, thank you. Pat, thank you, because how you're bringing attention to this, and your support. Your husband will be on the panel.
Oh, yeah.
Dealing with this at Harrisburg University. So I'm really excited about it. I really am.
I'm only there for a fashion sense, but
There you go.
let's do this. Let's take a chance to talk about both of your organizations. I want you to talk a little bit more about your spoken. What is it?
It's the right words.
The right words to me. Okay, tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I think you could look at it maybe from an academic level or even from a spiritual level. Words are power, and they're very powerful. And if properly fitted, they could change a person's life. So as I was thinking about this, I was saying, the Right Word Speakers Bureau, I said a word well fitted can change your life. And I think it doesn't matter what aspect of life you're in, whether you're in church, school, whatever. If you can come together with a word and it impacts that person in a very qualitative life, you can change your life. And just a little small examples. Again, a police chief seeing the video, it took it to where he says, my officers need to see that, because he feels the need that my officers need to maybe, be aware of this type of thing. So I think it's very apropos. It comes from a spiritual base about, how words, have the power of life and death. So I don't want to come across too preachy, but it definitely has a spiritual premise. So it was just really a continuation of, in some ways, of Worlds Apart, but it was a different kind of context to some extent.
But Mr. Bryan is not your only client. In other words, you
No, I
have
have several clients.
Okay.
One from years ago when Worlds Apart was really at its apex, Dr. Stephen Jones, and he has a series called 7 Secrets of, on how to study.
Right.
And I've been doing that with him for several years. Looking to bring you on board, Mr. Gaskin, in terms of your work. And when I get through this, I'll have some time with the materials and things like that. But we're going to be getting together. So as people are hearing about this, they're wanting to get their work out, and I have to be somewhat discerning in terms of what the client has and what they're looking to do. But I think it's important to provide a proper fit, the right word. So the right word isn't for everyone sometimes, I think it has to be contextualized,
Yes.
and the messenger has to be the right messenger for that particular word.
Amen to that.
So I think there is a place for that and a constructive place for it. So this isn't about bells and whistles and entertainment. I have nothing against entertainment, but I think at times, and I hate stereotyping, but somebody can get on if they want. But I think sometimes we're inundated with a lot of entertainment.
Yes.
And I think we need to have quality things outside of entertainment, and that's why I think media and what you've been doing historically for years is important, because you provide a very holistic, message in terms of life esteem.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, so good. And we'll get some, contact
Sure,
information
sure,
from you. And what's your
definitely.
contact information, by the way?
Okay, well, it's the Right Word Speakers Bureau. The website, my email address is BW Worlds Apart. I kept that Worlds Apart in there, but BW for Bryan Wade, worldsapart@gmail.com. My phone number is 717-601-9314.
In the overview of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, how it consists, and tell us a little bit about that.
So we're comprised of currently 23 members, both chambers, 19 House members, 4 Senate members. We are a nonpartisan organization. Sometimes we kind of get pegged as being a Democrat, although we only have 1 Republican member. That's you have to take that up with the electorate. So as I mentioned, we're here to promote, protect the interests of Pennsylvania's minority population. Certainly, as you know, there's over 4,000 bills that are introduced in that General Assembly every year, and only 400 of them are actually enacted into law. So a lot of those, if not most of those initiatives, don't really take into consideration the impact or the adverse impact that they would have upon communities of color. So that's where we kind of step in to ensure that these legislative initiatives aren't adversely impacted. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes not so much, but you know, certainly the one thing that we don't do or just limit ourselves to legislating, we're able to get a lot of policy reforms done on the advocacy front, much like with Mr. Wade's book. You know,
Mr. Bryan's book.
Mr. Bryan's book.
Why you telling that's your book?
And with Mr. Wade. So you know, and the one thing that, you know, at least since I've come on, I've put together a listserv where we have folks all the way from Erie to Philadelphia. Okay. So we're not just dictating to the public or the community what we're working on, but also soliciting, you know, what's going on in your areas, you know, especially some of the more remote pockets. You know, we're going out to, you know, the Poconos. There's which I didn't find out until recently, as a pretty significant Caribbean population as well. So we're able to kind of, you know, let folks know who don't live in Harrisburg or Central PA or Philadelphia or the larger markets that they do have representation in Harrisburg. The other thing is, you know, the name of our organization, although it's the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, it's a bit of a misnomer because we do have a diverse representation. Patty Kim's actually a member. She's an Asian American, and we have two Latino American members as well. So we're maybe looking at maybe evolving and bringing more folks into the tent. As I said, we're nonpartisan. I'm big on stakeholder engagement, so a lot of the stuff that we do, either on a policy level or legislatively, you know, we try to bring everyone to the table, you know, much like you mentioned about that symposium. We can't do things in a vacuum, and I've found that we have not been successful when we do things in a vacuum. So we're looking to do more of that, and anyone that's interested in being added to that listserv, you can either email me at bflood@pahouse.net, or you can visit our website. Keyword is PA Black Caucus. So, like I said, I'm big on surveys and big on people telling us what we should be doing more or less of, as opposed to dictating. So.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yes, indeed. So Thursday, May the 12th. Tell us about that a little bit.
Thursday, May the 12th. That's the date for our statewide broadcast, and another, I guess, happy kind of experiences. Now we're getting churches that are looking to simulcast this from Harrisburg University, so they're going to be reaching out to their congregations to, you know, come to their churches, and because sometimes people don't want to go to other venues, but they feel more comfortable at times in their church. So I'm looking at expanding the opportunities for people. Really, if somebody wants, I'll have the link. I don't have it with me now, but I will get it out. They could watch it from all over the world, you know, in terms of this particular forum, but it's going to be statewide, and May the 12th at 5 p.m. at Harrisburg University. It's going to be on the 14th floor. And we have the auditorium, and I got a feeling this is going to be a full event, believe me. And we have 2 breakout rooms up for another 60 people. Matter of fact, the boardroom looks better than the auditorium. It's posh, I tell you. But that was made possible by Mr. Flood, and through the collaborations, and so I'm really appreciative and thankful. And I'm going to say again, I thank you on television, Mr. Flood, for what your office has done to help bring this information to the community. Thank you so much. And Mr. Bryant will be the keynote speaker, but Mr. Gasson will be on to look at maybe some of the psychological ramifications of police stops, you know, based on ethnicity, because there's a lot of data out there. So we're looking to we'll have law enforcement on the panel. I'm hoping to have Gloria Martin Roberts on the panel too, because she's going to be working with Chief Umberger, and they have some kind of law enforcement group or something. I forget.
Over in Fort Harris.
Yes, exactly. So they're going to be partnering up with law enforcement to go into schools and talk about this from a civilian and law enforcement perspective. So, I mean, the partnerships are coming together. It really is. And I'll just say it's an answered prayer, and I won't get it sound too over preachy. But I'm meeting a lot of people, and it's very heartening to see the kind of response. Because I think both sides, in a lot of levels, need to say, we got to do something about this because it's getting out of control.
It's out of control.
It's getting out of control.
And there has to be more of of ownership, you know, from both sides,
Right.
of course.
Exactly.
But you know, just fairness, and I'll just leave it like that because
Right,
I'm not,
right.
you know, trying to take one side or the next.
Right, right.
But I do get concerned when we see things in plain sight, and then you know we're told, well, there's not going to be any conviction, there's not even going to be a trial. Well, come on, you know, even if I in my role, you know, step outside of my role as a preacher or whatever, and do something that breaks the law, I should be held accountable.
Right, right.
Or just as a private, I should be held accountable. And I just think everybody should.
But you don't need to be abused or you know, physically
Absolutely not.
over the top or whatever, and
No.
vice versa. You know,
vice versa, absolutely.
yep.
Because then we get people that are they pile on. You know, oh, this, you know. And we had a young man here in this area who literally he just was running around trying to get shot because he kept seeing all the stuff in the news. He wanted to be a martyr. You know.
Oh, okay.
And what was that thing called? Suicide by police. You know.
Yeah, something like
so
that.
So police have to put up with a lot too. Let's be honest
They do.
about it. They got to put up with a
absolutely.
lot of nonsense.
They do.
And so we got to be real careful. Good work, man. I'm so glad you're bringing in Mr. Bryan.
Yes.
It's called the Stop Program, a public forum on improving police and community relations.
Can I give them
Please
the
do,
information?
yes. Why don't you do
If
that?
you want to know more about that, go to www.aboutthestop.com. Again, www.aboutthestop.com.
And when we talk about stop, we're talking about that traffic stop.
Yes, specifically.
Or
That's
just-
the context.
Yeah, that's the context. But anytime you're stopped by police, you know.
Right.
I had to laugh. I had a young lady just the other day. This is school context,
Right.
way off.
Right.
But she gets in trouble with the teacher. Why? Because her and another friend are going back and forth or something. So the teacher comes up, what's going on, Love? And she says, well, give me that. And she says, no. And so she just refused to give it to the teacher. So, you know, I'm talking to her, and I said, well, why did you say no? She said, well, because it was mine. I said, you do understand she's a teacher, right? You know, and it's that whole disconnect from, wait a minute, I'm a young person here, 13 years old, this is a teacher saying, and it wasn't anything major, but guess what? She's now taken out of school for a bit here.
I've been there, done that. I was a teacher, so I know middle school.
So it starts there even.
Yeah,
Now imagine
yeah.
that being a police officer, and you're talking about no.
No, right.
You know, it just gets to be really kind of silly. So I'm so glad you're taking this into the schools.
Yep, definitely.
You know.
You know, again, that's a holistic approach. I want to say too, I want to thank Mayor Pappenfuss's office. They are working with us in terms of partnership, and also May 13th, Mr. Bryant will be at Midtown Scholars Bookstore
wonderful.
for
Oh,
a book talk and a book signing. So
Excellent.
that's going to be 6 to 7 p.m.
Okay.
on May the 13th. So he's going to be in schools, churches. So he has a pretty busy schedule once he gets into central Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Well, this is
That
wonderful.
sounds
We
very
need
good.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we've quickly run out of time. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on, for all the work
Thank you
that
for
you're
having
doing and
us.
all the
Thank you
different
both.
ways you do it. And I want to thank you, too, the audience, for watching this program and listening. Now, we need you to be a partner on this. This is a very serious, you know, endeavor. It's called the STOP program, and it's about improving community relations along with the police, and that's what we seek to do. Everybody wants to talk about the problem. Let's talk about fixing the problem,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So you can be part of the solution, and it starts on, you know, it starts on May the 12th. It doesn't start on May the 12th, but we're going to say May the 12th, and we're going to be down at Harrisburg University.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. up on the 14th floor.
Yep.
And again, thank you for bringing in Mr. Bryant, and thank you for watching this program. Pass the word and tell everybody to come out, and we'll see you there in the place. Thanks for watching Life Esteem. Goodbye. Good stuff, man.
Good stuff.